Hey everybody, welcome once again to Challenge Athletes Live. My name is Bob Babbitt. Our next guest, one of our favorite people on the planet, Mr. Eduardo Garcia, joins us. Eduardo, how the heck are you doing?
Hey, Bob. Nice to see you. I am doing just fine. It's fall up here in Montana, so leaves are changing. There's a crispness in the air, starting to pull the leggings out for those athletes who are watching. You know what that means. It means getting a little colder.
Yeah, so is this October 9th, 2011? Was that the day?
October 9th, 2011 was definitely a definitive day for me. Yes.
Yeah, so we're coming up on the 9th anniversary of that. And you were out hunting with your bow. And take us through what happened.
Yeah, well, and it's very poignant again for anyone who's tuning in that it is archery season in Montana, and I'm a lifelong outdoorsman. Hunting is one of the ways which I fill my pantry. And October 9th, 2011, like so many days like today, crisp fall air, it's beautiful out, and I was on a hike, and I saw the remains of a dead baby bear, which for anyone else in the world may sound totally bizarre and crazy. For a kid growing up in the Rocky Mountains, it's just not out of the ordinary to see that. The kicker is that the bear was in a can that was on the ground, which again, there's so much mining detritus that it's not uncommon to see iron scrap laying around. And I did what most outdoorsmen would do. You kind of think, well, maybe take a claw for a souvenir and I'll keep moving on my hike. And in trying to remove a claw, I put a knife in my left hand and didn't even get within 20 inches before an arc of 2,400 volts surged from the base of that can into my left hand. And that's kind of, that was the end of life as I knew it as a 30-year-old person.
Well, and what's fascinating to me, it's 2,400 volts, you're on the ground, and how you got from there to a farmhouse, I've 3 miles, right? To get yourself out of there and live, really you should have died there, right? They're really, how you got from point A to point B is still, to me, sort of a mystery.
It's still a mystery to me too, Bob. And yet I just had this conversation this morning actually with the team because, largely I'm still almost a decade after my injury and this newfound way of living as an amputee. And I still find that there's a major deficit in my understanding of why I survived especially when so many professionals from my critical care team to my therapy and rehab team, and then to other challenge athletes I met who kind of became a challenge athlete through a trauma-based event in their life. Mm-hmm. So many of us wonder, why me? How did I survive this when I shouldn't have? And largely, I keep going back to the same thing, which is that deep down inside of all of us, there's an innate desire to live that we forget about-ish. We don't remind ourselves to breathe in every breath. We just know to do these life-based things. And I'd like to think that magic, whatever that is, that magic kicked in. And it was really like that magic that got me out of the woods, that helped me run that marathon, so to speak.
So when you get to the hospital and you lose ribs, you've got burns all over your body, you lose your arm. They find out you have testicular cancer. Like, let's throw a little cherry on top of this.
Right.
When they told you you had testicular cancer, what was your reaction after, knowing what your body was going through?
Truthfully, my reaction was annoyance, anger and annoyance. It was, my experience was a total, it was basically, without swearing with everybody on this, it was, are you kidding me? Another thing I have to deal with. All right, then let's deal with it, because I'm trying to figure out life as a one-handed person at 30 years old. So it was almost, and the thing here is that, we did a biopsy. We did, took my blood tumor markers. We did all the tests in quick time. and recognized that there were no active cancer cells that could be found in my body. And so all of this comes within the 24-hour period. We found that you have testicular cancer. We can't find it active anywhere else in your body. So we highly recommend that you stop all of your surgery, all of your therapy, your ongoing work to recover from your electrical injury. And we wholly focus for 3 months on very rigorous chemotherapy treatments. So it was so jarring. It was such a 180. We're on this fast track of recovering from as a burn survivor, becoming an amputee, to having your doctor walk in on any given day and just say, well, actually, we're going to hold all of this and we're going to completely focus on this cancer issue for the next 3 months. Okay. What are you supposed to do other than just say, what the F, and okay, like, let's go.
The other thing that blows me away is this is the lowest moment of your life. And you have the foresight to go, I need to record this. I need to record the lowest moment of my life because you never know, right? I need to be able to remember this story and be able to retell this story. Was that difficult for you? Because I'm sure there were some difficult moments to go, oh, wait a second, let's film this.
I wasn't in the driver's seat, really, Bob. So, it was my caregiver and dear friend, Jenny Jane, was by my side with my family for every step of my recovery, the 50 days in ICU to the 2 years of plastic surgery and therapeutic care and recovery. And it was actually Jenny who, as my business partner and friend, we were working on a television show. So filming and capturing my life in verite and real moments was already sort of in our rigmarole on a daily basis. And so she was the one that really, as a visionary, saw the opportunity to capture a very challenging moment for someone for the purpose of utilizing it to a better result in the future. So it wasn't really more polished than that. It was just, we got to capture this because A, when Eduardo wakes up, he's going to want to know what happened, and we'll have the opportunity to share by video what happened. And B, if we survive and when we survive all of this, we may just have a nest egg to be purposefully utilized in some other capacity. I mean, it was that vague. I mean, that was the thought process of filming.
I've watched the trailer from before, right? Citizen Pictures, you're going to be the outdoor chef and you've got 2 arms. And as a chef, trying to come back with 1 arm, right? And originally we were going with sort of the high-tech, motorized, move every digit type of thing. And how frustrating was that, knowing where you were as a chef to where you now were?
Well, incredibly frustrating, especially if you know Eduardo Garcia. At that time as a chef, I had just spent 10 years as a private chef, and so I was very much working by myself for 10 years. Had a team working with me in the hospitality of, being there for a family as a yacht chef. But when it came to the food element, I wasn't working with a brigade. I wasn't working in a team of 10 or 20 or 40 in a restaurant. It was just me. And so that leaves a lot of room to perfect and really, be in a silo of your own thought and your own creative process. And so really the primary challenge right out of the gate was that I was no longer going to be working by myself in the simplest of things. Hey, Bob, can you open this jar for me?
Right.
I can only bear hug this so hard. And so that was the biggest kind of, that was the immediate challenge, and the immediate first steps towards making this work was recognizing that I wasn't going to be able to do all of the things I was used to doing as a chef by myself. And I was going to need to ask for a lot more help from others.
When did you connect with Challenge Athletes Foundation, and what did CAF bring to you?
I connected with the Challenge Athletes Foundation in 2013 through our dear friends, the Franklin family. And they are longtime Challenge Athlete supporters. And I knew the family from my days as a yacht chef. And it was actually Martin Franklin that gave me my first pair of running shoes. and was encouraging me to run the New York City Marathon. Eddie, it's a great race, you know. And so then that was pre my injury, you know. So he knew me in my 20s, and I became an amputee at 30. And so I think it was 2013. So 2 years after my injury, that his family made the connection, and a VT called me and invited me to the New York City Gala, and that's usually in early June, and I remember that was my first connection. You know, that was my first connection, and it was also my first taste of a certain medicine or a certain part of therapy that I wasn't receiving in my life 2 years post my injury. So I'd gone for 600 days without such a critical part of my care. And it was in New York City in Central Park with you. We were eating bagels. Rudy Garcia Tolson was there, and a handful of other challenge athletes and CAF New York supporters. And I showed up to run with my prosthetic on. And it was a challenge athlete who's, I think it was Thomas Kane, 18 years old at the time.
Yeah.
And he has the same amputation halfway on the forearm. And it was actually him who came up to say hi. And he looked at my prosthetic, and he just assumed I was going to be taking it off to get ready to go run. And you were probably, all right, everybody, we're about to go. Let's go. You know, we're about to do 20 miles. Just kidding. We'll do 3. And it was Thomas that said, you going to run with that, man? You know, you going to run with that thing on? Jangling around. And so he encouraged me to step into being an amputee fully and embrace the new me. And I hadn't done that yet. So I had gone 2 years of just struggling with this new me. And it was right there. And it's what Challenge Athletes Foundation does so beautifully. Instead of proposing anything, the Challenge Athletes Foundation literally creates the space to be yourself. And I had not really had that opportunity yet to really just be an amputee and understand what that meant for me and a group of people.
I remember watching you at Ironman 70.3 Oceanside.
Yeah.
And the smile on your face as you ran by me, like I was standing still, and everybody else, but just getting back in the sport, how important was that for you?
Like I said, it was medicine. It was, I'm missing 4 ribs right here. And so when your medical team, basically they're doing their best, and they're just letting you know what to expect in the years to come, and that you may not do this and you may not do that and you won't do that. And then it was the Challenge Athletes Foundation that said, hey, we're really interested in supporting you discovering what you can do. So how about joining us in Oceanside for a half Ironman? And I'm like, you know, and I just want to say that it was at that first gala in New York in 2013 where I started doing something that I would encourage anybody to do, which is when it comes to the Challenge Athletes Foundation, if you're given an opportunity, say yes. Say yes every time. Because I remember being in that room and people are raising their paddles and they're bidding on things. And I looked at Mikey Franklin, he looks at me and he's like, Eddie, if you do the SDTC, the San Diego Triathlon Challenge, I'll do it. And so he challenged me. And I said, okay, well, I was the only one that showed up on race day that October because he couldn't make it. He had college. But that was the beginning of it for me. It was the beginning of recognizing that, you know, that you all basically, you invite opportunity into people's lives. And so, you know, recognizing that I could move again, that I could bike, that I could swim, that I could run, and not just a couple feet, but a half Ironman distance. I use that in my everyday life in a conscious and subconscious way. That is now part of my DNA.
Watching your original promos for the show you were going to do, I love the fact that you look at food and community as they intersect, right? You wanted, it's like, there's nothing better. You could speak different languages, but when you're sitting down and you go out and somebody's collecting fruit and vegetables and I'm cooking and we all sit down and share a meal, there's a community there that you can't beat. That seems to me, that's the epitome of what you're all about, community and food. Talk a little bit about how important that is to you.
As a career chef, I have started flipping burgers at 15, and now I own a food brand, Montana Mex. And so every part of my professional life and my personal interest is has continued to be in the food space. And I truly believe that food is not just a calorie count, but it's rather so much more than that. And the whole nutritional story of food is the calories, and it's also your heritage, and it's also your culture, and it's also your purpose. And it is the fuel we put in our tank before a run, before an event, before a dance, or before a great Saturday night out with your buddies. It doesn't matter. Food is part of our fuel. It's one of our fuel sources. And so for me, I burn out on 10 years of professional cooking, basically, Bob, and I realized that there was a missing component to what I was doing. I was just kind of serving food for many years as a professional chef. And what I picked up on was highlighting, every now and then you'll send me a text of what Heidi's cooking, and it changes my day. And you can tell Heidi that. It changes my day because it reminds me I'm not crazy, and that food is important, and it's something to be celebrated, and it brings people together. And so that it just is critical to my career, is making sure that food is not just this thing that we have to do. It's this thing that we do, and it is integral to our lives and to our happiness and health.
So as the emperor of flavor at Montana Mex, you're doing a cooking class Monday, October 12th, 5 p.m. Mountain Time, $25 to join, and reg is open. Talk a little about the class, and because you don't just cook. This is an experience. This is an Eduardo Garcia Emperor of Flavor experience that people will be getting on October 12th.
So to speak about, if I had my druthers, I would have the opportunity to break bread in person. I'm talking even pre-COVID.
Oh yeah.
It's my favorite thing to do, and it's one of the things I learned to do in my career as a yacht chef was, how can I get closer to who I'm cooking with? Because simply to just put a meal out and never really see the impact it has on others it deletes that full kind of, that figure eight loop, right? And so what I'd like to propose is an invitation, and I've really never done this, but it's saying, hey, join me in my home kitchen. Join me in my home kitchen, and we want to stay within the conversation of athleticism and sport and movement, and how I, as an athlete, fuel my movement. And so it's maybe unorthodox, great, but it's my style. So it's an invitation to step into the privacy of my kitchen and my home, which I'm very proud to open up and say, let's cook a meal. This is my choice, like a rendition of my choice meal before an event, is to eat a meal that is full of vegetables, full of easy to process proteins like salmon. And then of course, true to me, I don't dub the flavor down. My body is, my pre-SDTC for 6 years running, except for this year, unfortunately, is to have a jalapeno croissant, ham and cheese croissant in the morning. It's like, and I tell that to so many people, they look at me in the lineup, and they're like, what? You're eating jalapenos? And it's just the way I am. So it's the opportunity for me to share the inside scoop on what I love to eat before I go get active the next day.
I love it. Eduardo, will be 5 p.m. Mountain Time on Monday, October 12th. Heidi and I will be taking a little cooking class with our main man, the Emperor of Flavor, Eduardo Garcia. Eduardo, thank you for everything you bring to CAF. Your personality, your never say die attitude, how you've overcome everything in your life, and you've made lemonade. The fact that you have your movie Charged and how many lives that has changed. You're just doing great stuff, and we just love having you part of the family.
Thanks, Bob. It is truly. We've done a lot of things together. The Challenge Athletes Foundation to Eduardo Garcia, and I, for one, am here to say that I feel like I've received more than I've given. So this is a very unique way for me to give back in a different capacity. And so for anyone who taps in and who wants to join, I'm excited to cook with all of you. And of course, every dollar raised goes to an organization that's very dear to my heart, dear to all of our hearts. So couldn't think of a better way to do it and a better place to be on Monday. So I
And
hope
go
folks tune in.
Montana Mex Facebook page and sign up.
That's right.
Love it. Eduardo Garcia has been our guest again, Challenged Athletes Live. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Eduardo, always love catching up. Take care of yourself.
Bye, Bob.